Hi, my name is Scott Smith and I'm here to explain a little bit about my next exhibition, which is at Morningside Gallery, and that's in Edinburgh. I do an exhibition every year here at Morningside Gallery for the last, I don't know how many years, but hopefully I like to make it a little bit different each year. And what's different about this year is you can actually go into the gallery, so quite happy that this is the first exhibition that the gallery's going to have people actually enter into the gallery for the last 14 months or so. So really happy about that. So I will be at the gallery between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock on the 22nd of May. So it's titled Meta Landscape, and this might take a little bit of explaining in a general way with all the paintings, and hopefully the gallery staff there, Ailey and Sally and Adam, will be able to walk you around the exhibition if you're not going to be there, because we've got into the habit of doing this kind of a thing, and people have quite liked it. So a little bit of explanation about the title is Meta Landscape. Now the prefix meta, it was something that I've been thinking about for a while over the last maybe 14 months during lockdown, things like that. What happened for me was I couldn't really go and visit a lot of the places that I paint, but this allowed me then to expand on what I would deem as the fictitious element of my landscape painting, which is what comes from within. So a lot of people ask me if I paint from memory, and my answer to that is kind of not really. I paint from experience, and that implies several memories, several points in time. It's not one specific moment in time, but I try to just convey the spirit of a place. So in doing that, I'm actually extracting from several ideas at once. And I love that fictional writers can be more creative, and it can be more real than real life fiction, because what the creator is doing is they're taking from several places, and they're editing away what's not important and distilling down information that is important, to give an essence of what they're trying to convey. And that's what I want to do with these landscapes. None of the exhibition is really anywhere place specific entirely. It's all based on areas and regions of Scotland. So how do you make reality, how do you make landscape more real than landscape itself? Well, what I want the viewer to really feel is that they recognise the place without recognising it. If you know what I mean. So you know exactly where that might be, but you're not exactly sure specifically where, but the feeling of the spirit will be translated, the essence of the place. So a lot of the, we'll just go through some of the paintings now. A lot of them will be using words like spirit study, and sea air, and they're sort of evocative of the essence of a place. And I've got a series called Spirit of the Highlands, Spirit of the Islands, and so on. So I'm looking to convey that spirit, convey that atmosphere, and I've always called my work atmospheric abstractions, and it's about a way to just convey a feeling of place, often without being place specific. The one behind me, Meta Sunrise, it's a sunrise about sunrises. It's not one specific sunrise, but an edited down, distilled version of many sunrises which have been experienced. And in doing so, you almost create that perfect sunrise. The sunrise you may never have seen once, but experienced in many different ways several times. So there's an element of that self-referential element of the meta idea. It's not the literal meta landscape where it's a landscape painting of a landscape painting or several landscape paintings, which would take the term meta to be a lot more literal. What I'm trying to do here is draw upon the fictional elements of what I do and represent a reality which could be more real than reality itself. A process of simplification and embellishment is how I see abstraction, but also it's true for this idea of fictional landscape, which it distills reality by simplifying and then embellishing upon, and it's the embellishment that adds to the spirit or the representation, and the simplification is where you get away from one occasion of reality. I hope that makes sense. So beginning with some of them, so we've got Spirit Study 1 and 2. With the Spirit Study 2 just includes that feeling of solitude. There's a real feeling of solitude within all of the paintings that they show here, so I wanted to convey that with just to represent the time at which these paintings were done. This idea of a feeling of solitude, or an appreciation of open space and solitude and reflection. Dawn's Promise, really based on feelings of the islands. This is beyond landscape. That word beyond is related to meta, so metaphysics might be described as beyond physics. This is beyond landscape in a way where I'm looking at trying to simplify the planes of the land, and simplify it down to the way that shapes dissipate as they disappear into the more softer landscape behind. So it's an exaggeration of atmospheric perspective, and it really looks at the elements of what makes up the solid elements of the landscape immediately before you. Going on to elements of the Highlands. So elements of the Highlands, it would be this idea of the hazy hills. I was in Skye one time where I was crossing Rassay and looking back towards Skye when it was a really warm day. So this really wants to take the warmth, and it's actually added that literal warmth and the colour to this stream or road that you would relate that to. Really, it's inspired by Glencoe and Skye Coolins, and it looks at trying to echo what is above as below, with the warmth of the place and convey that haziness as well. We go on to elemental sky. The word elemental has many meanings. Elements of sky, so when I'm producing this idea of meta landscape, I'm taking elements from several experiences, but it also refers to elements of colour. So I see the building blocks of colour as the CMY, cyan, magenta, yellow, the primary colours of subtractive colour theory, so that all colours are created by artists and printers from CMY. Essence of sky, this one really is a lighter feel for me. It's a very spirit orientated painting. Again, the word spirit echoing again and again within the titles of the paintings, trying to convey a light spirit of solitude, nothing too moody. So before, something like this would end up very, very moody from dark to light, right to left within the painting. With this one, it's I feel that I've lifted the mood at a slight hazier look and an overall lighter feel, which is probably almost like more idyllic than what might have been experienced in real life, which again is more down to the spirit and mood that I want to convey than one specific occasion that the scene might have been experienced in. Path of Light, this is maybe more obvious with the title where I'm going with this. It reflects back to more of the optimism ideas within my work that's probably been present for about 12 years now, maybe 10. And it really looks at cooler colours. So there's cooler colours and less warm colours, but the warm colours in their smaller quantities would be almost more emphasised by the cooler colours around them. And again, it's all based on an initial painting of spray paint. So this one is spray paint acrylic with oil on top of that, and the spray paint is probably applied in 5 minutes or less to get the movement and spontaneity, and then it's moulded into what I wanted to have, which was the metaphorical path of light. Something similar is at play with the Spirit of the Highlands. 80 by 120 centimetres. The Spirit of the Highlands is very loud, warm colours, and we have this gradation from left and right of the composition, which goes from cool into warm, and that path of warmth being quite central in this one creates a haziness to what is immediately around you, and almost like a tunnel vision look at what's directly in front of you, which is trying to, I called a painting once focus point. So I like the idea that you would be focused on what's in front of you, and what's to the side becomes less relevant and almost greyed out, if you like. So it's things coming into central focus is what that was about, and it has a spirit for me of the Highlands, mostly again roundabout sort of Ballachulish, these kinds of areas are the inspiration for this, but again no specific even photographs are reflected upon during the painting of it. Island Glow, Western Isles again, nowhere specific on the Western Isles. It tries to say Western Isles generically, and this could have been called Meta Islands, and it really looks at that central focus again. Some of the paintings within the exhibition really do look at a way in which colour can focus your attention on something. So this has that central light to it. There's also a far more central horizon level, and how to balance a composition when you have a central horizon level is actually quite a difficult manoeuvre, and with this I make it with the complex sky and the softer foreground, which kind of relates to what's under the surface. I call one painting Beneath the Surface, and I like the idea of the refraction of the water and what you perceive as being below it, and it echoes what you might see as being behind the clouds. So there's a theme of translucency here, and the difference between the translucency of the sea and the translucency of the sky, and how those two things relate and differ at the same time. And again, you've got that gradation of colour, which centralises the warm colours in the centre. Okay, and we have Veil of Light. Now this is this idea of shafts of light. Now the shafts of light here are produced in probably a way that is very difficult to capture in, say, a photograph. You would get quite a contrasty dark to light, but it's almost like tries to capture it in a dreamlike quality, and a lot of the paintings in the show are trying to go for that dreamlike quality. The veil of light is just the depiction of how light can translucently cover up some areas and reveal others, and yeah, this one really is based on memories of Skye. So there's a lot of Skye within the Isle of Skye within this one. Okay, we've got instinctive reality. Now, having heard some of the other concepts within, you might even already appreciate why this might be called instinctive reality. Instinct is something that I've been looking into a lot in the past few years of what I do. I paint on instinct. One of my exhibitions was called Taoist Landscape, and the Tao being the way is a little bit like saying go with the flow. So let the energy take you there, and this one works very much on an instinctive use of paint in the initial stages to guide the composition, and the colour here is very intense, and it's a look at reality from an instinctive way, which is only possible when you separate yourself from the literal landscape and attempt to describe that landscape in a way that is instinctive, that is not based on a singular experience of reality, but tries to combine various elements of some of the other paintings that I've done. So the meta landscape concept not only pulls together elements of experience of the landscape, it also pulls together 10 years worth of work where I'm actually painting based on things that I've learned from previous paintings. I'm almost amalgamating some of these ideas and putting them into landscapes about previous landscapes, which is the meta landscape concept. So I think that's pretty much everything in the exhibition. I hope that was somewhat enlightening to some of the concepts. I think in general it's been a great period of time for inward reflection and creativity, at a time where chaos descends, creativity is extracted, and I think a lot of people are working new creative ways in their own industries to get beyond the difficulties. There's nothing like a little bit of chaos to descend to extract a bit of order and new ideas. So yeah, although we're praying for an end to this mess, we can reflect optimistically on how it might affect our future. I hope you enjoy the exhibition. Anyone who's welcome to come along, I'll be there to explain some of these things in more detail maybe. And yeah, enjoy the exhibition, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. 22nd of May.